Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Have you ever finished a conversation and felt completely empty, like something was taken from you? Your energy, your good mood, your confidence. You walked in feeling fine, and you walked out feeling small. Maybe it was a family member who always has something negative to say. Maybe it was a coworker who puts you down in front of others. Maybe it was a friend who always makes everything about themselves. You tried to be kind. You tried to be patient. But no matter what you did, you left that conversation feeling worse than before. If you know that feeling, this lesson is for you. This is a graded lesson for English learners who want wisdom and calm. Today you are going to learn the Stoic way. The Stoics were a group of ancient philosophers who lived more than 2,000 years ago. They faced wars, betrayal, loss, and people who wanted to destroy them. And yet they stayed calm. They stayed strong. They stayed in control of themselves. Their strategies are not complicated. They are not new. But they work. And they work especially well in modern life where difficult people are everywhere. By the end of this lesson, something will shift inside you. You will not look at toxic people the same way again. You will not fight them. You will not fear them. You will not let them live inside your head rent-free. You will understand exactly what they are, exactly why they behave the way they do, and exactly what you can do about it. Your peace is yours to protect. This is the idea we will come back to again and again today. Write it somewhere if you want. Say it to yourself right now. Your peace is yours to protect, not theirs to destroy, not theirs to steal, yours. In this lesson, we are going to cover 8 powerful Stoic ideas. Each one is a tool. And by the end, you will have all 8 tools ready to use the next time a difficult person walks into your life. Now, before we go further, if this kind of content helps you grow, if these lessons make you think, if you want more wisdom like this every week, hit subscribe right now. It takes 1 second, and it means you will never miss a lesson. Let's begin. Lesson 1. The only thing you can control. Here's the truth. Most people spend their lives trying to control the wrong things. They try to control what other people think of them. They try to control what other people say about them. They try to control how other people treat them. And when they cannot, they feel angry. They feel frustrated. They feel like victims. The Stoics saw this clearly 2,000 years ago, and they gave us one of the most powerful ideas ever written. Marcus Aurelius was a Roman emperor. He had more power than almost any person alive at that time. He could command armies. He could build cities. He could change laws. And yet in his private journal, a book we now call Meditations, he wrote something very simple. He wrote that the only thing he truly controlled was his own mind. Not the weather, not his enemies, not the people who lied to him or worked against him. Only his own thoughts, his own choices, his own reactions. Think about that for a moment. The most powerful man in the world sat alone at night and reminded himself, I control my mind, nothing else. This idea has a name. The Stoics called it the Dichotomy of Control. Dichotomy means 2 parts. On one side, the things inside your control. On the other side, the things outside your control. The Stoics said that almost everything in life falls on the outside. Other people's words, other people's actions, other people's moods. These are all outside your control. What is inside your control? Your attention, your response, your values, your effort. That is the full list. Now think about a toxic person in your life. Maybe they criticize you. Maybe they ignore you. Maybe they create drama everywhere they go. You have been trying to change them. You have been trying to make them understand. You have been waiting for the day they finally treat you right. Here is what the Stoics would tell you: stop. Not because you are weak, not because you deserve the treatment, but because you are spending your energy on the outside, and that energy belongs inside. A reactive mind gives toxic people all the power. A stoic mind gives them none. Read that again. When you react with anger, when you lose sleep over their words, when you change your whole day because of their mood, you are handing them control. You are giving them the keys to your inner world, and they did not even ask for them. You handed them over yourself. Marcus Aurelius dealt with difficult people every single day. Senators who lied to his face, generals who wanted his position, family members who betrayed his trust. And he wrote in that same journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." It's not about being cold. It's not about pretending you don't feel anything. It's not about becoming a stone. It is about choosing where your energy goes. Every single time. You cannot control what others do. You can only control what you do next. That is lesson 1, and it changes everything that comes after. Lesson 2. The Inner Citadel. There was a man who had nothing. His name was Epictetus. He was born a slave in ancient Rome. He had no freedom. He had no money. He had no rights. His master could do anything to him. And one day, his master decided to test him. He grabbed Epictetus by the leg and began to twist it. Hard. Epictetus looked at him calmly and said, "You are going to break it." The master twisted harder. The leg broke. Epictetus looked at him again and said, "Did I not tell you that you would break it?" No anger, no screaming, no begging, just calm. How is that possible? How can a person endure that kind of pain and cruelty without losing themselves? Epictetus had something his master could never touch. The Stoics called it the Inner Citadel. A citadel is a fortress, a protected place. The Inner Citadel is the fortress of your mind, your thoughts, your values, your sense of who you are. It lives deep inside you. And no one, not a cruel master, not a toxic friend, not an angry boss, can enter it without your permission. Stay with me, because this is the part most people miss. We think that when someone hurts us with words, they have entered our inner world. We think that when someone disrespects us, they have taken something real. We feel it so strongly that it must be true. But the Stoics said no. They said the pain you feel is not caused by what they did. It is caused by what you told yourself about what they did. The toxic person speaks. That is outside. Your mind interprets. That is inside. And the inside is yours. Think about the last time someone said something unkind to you. Maybe a colleague dismissed your idea in a meeting. Maybe a family member made a comment about your choices. Maybe someone you trusted said something that cut deep. You carried it home. You replayed it at dinner. You lost sleep over it at midnight. They went home and probably forgot about it. You gave them a key. You let them walk into your inner citadel and sit down. Epictetus had everything taken from him: his freedom, his body, his future. He kept one thing. He chose his response. He chose his inner world. And that choice made him one of the most respected thinkers in all of history. A man who owned nothing, who left behind a philosophy that emperors read and followed. Small minds absorb the feelings of toxic people. Strong minds observe them. There is a difference between feeling something and being controlled by it. You can feel hurt. You can feel angry. You can feel disappointed. Those feelings are real. The Stoics never said to pretend. They said feel it, name it, and then choose what you do next. Do not let the feeling drive the car. Here is a practice from Epictetus himself. The next time a toxic person says or does something that stings, pause before you respond. Ask yourself one question. Is this inside my control or outside my control? Their words. Outside. Your reaction. Inside. Their behavior. Outside. Your values. Inside. Once you draw that line, the citadel holds. No one can enter your mind without your permission. This is the inner citadel. And once you build it, no toxic person can ever truly reach you again. Lesson 3. Prepare your mind before you enter the room. There is a man. Call him Daniel. Daniel has a manager named Roy. Roy is the kind of person who makes meetings miserable. He interrupts people. He takes credit for other people's work. He points out mistakes loudly in front of everyone and never once says thank you in private. Every Monday morning, Daniel wakes up with a tight feeling in his chest. He checks the calendar. Team meeting at 9. And already before he has eaten breakfast, before he has even left his house, Roy has ruined his day. Does that sound familiar? The problem is not Monday. The problem is not the meeting. The problem is that Daniel walks in unprepared. He hopes Roy will be different this week. He tells himself maybe today will be better. And when Roy behaves exactly as Roy always behaves, Daniel feels blindsided, angry, defeated. The Stoics had a practice for exactly this situation. They called it premeditatio malorum. In simple English, it means the premeditation of difficulties. Before you walk into a hard situation, you sit quietly and you imagine what might go wrong. You picture the difficult person behaving exactly as they always do. You see it clearly in your mind. You feel it a little. And then you decide in advance how you will respond. This is not pessimism. This is not giving up on people. This is preparation. Now think about this. When a soldier goes into a difficult situation, they do not walk in hoping everything will be fine. They train. They prepare. They run through every possible scenario in their mind before it happens, so that when it does happen, they are ready. Their hands do not shake. Their voice does not crack. They have already been there in their mind 100 times. You can do the same thing before a hard conversation. If you walk in expecting sunshine and you get a storm, you are shocked. If you walk in knowing the storm is possible, you bring a coat. Daniel tried this. The Sunday night before his next team meeting, instead of dreading Roy and trying to push the thoughts away, he sat with them. He imagined Roy interrupting him. He imagined Roy dismissing his idea. He imagined the tight feeling in his chest. And then in his mind, he practiced staying calm. He practiced breathing. He practiced saying clearly and without anger, "I would like to finish my point." Monday morning, Roy interrupted him. Daniel felt the heat rise for 1 second. Then it passed, because he had already been there. He already knew what to do. He spoke clearly. He finished his point. He drove home that evening without Roy in the car with him. 3 months later, Daniel was promoted. Roy was not. Weak thinking says they ruined my day. Strong thinking says I allowed my day to be ruined. And that is the shift. No one can ruin your day without your cooperation. And when you prepare your mind in advance, you stop cooperating with their chaos. If they raise their voice, you already knew they might. If they say something unkind, you already pictured it. If they try to provoke you, you are already standing on solid ground. Expect difficult people. Then you will never be surprised by them. This lesson does not make Roy disappear. It does not change Roy at all. But it changes Daniel completely. And in the end, that is the only change that matters. Lesson 4. The space between. Own your reaction. Perhaps it came fast, a sharp comment, a dismissive look, a message that landed like a punch. And before you even finished reading it, you felt the heat. Your chest tightened, your jaw clenched, your fingers moved toward the keyboard. You were ready to fire back. That moment right there is the most important moment in the whole conversation. Not what they said, not what they did. That moment between their action and your response, that tiny space, that fraction of a second where you have a choice. Most people never find it. Most people skip straight from the trigger to the reaction, as if there is no space at all. As if the anger just happened to them like rain, like they had no say in it. But there is a space. The Stoics knew it. And one man in the 20th century proved it in the most painful way possible. Viktor Frankl was an Austrian psychiatrist. During the Second World War, he was sent to a concentration camp. He lost almost everything: his family, his manuscripts, his freedom. The people around him were treated in ways that cannot easily be described. Everything external was taken. Everything that should have broken a person was there. And yet Frankl made a discovery inside that suffering. He wrote about it later in one of the most important books of the last 100 years. He said that between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Pause for 1 second. Read that again slowly. Between what happens to us and what we do about it, there is a space. That space is where we live. That space is who we are. And no one can take it from you. Not a cruel word, not a toxic person, not anyone. The Stoics called this the discipline of assent. Before you agree to feel something, before you agree to react, you pause. You look at the thought. You ask, is this thought true? Is this reaction necessary? Is this the response of the person I want to be? This is not about being cold. This is not about pretending you feel nothing. This is not about swallowing everything down until you break. It is about choosing, consciously, every single time. Here is how to practice it. The next time someone says something that triggers you, do not respond for 10 seconds. 10 seconds, that is all. Breathe once, feel the heat, let it be there. And then ask yourself, what would a calm, strong person do right now? Not a perfect person, not a saint, just someone who is a little more in control than the version of you that fires back without thinking. That 10-second pause is where your power lives. Frankl survived the worst conditions a human being can face. He came out the other side and taught the world that our last freedom, the one thing that can never be taken, is the freedom to choose how we respond. If you could find that space in a concentration camp, you can find it in a difficult conversation. Between what they do and what you do, there is a space. Own that space. Your peace is yours to protect. If this lesson is speaking to you, if you feel something shifting right now, do not let this be the only lesson you hear. Subscribe to this channel. There is more coming. Every week, lessons like this one designed to help you think more clearly, live more calmly, and grow stronger from the inside out. Hit subscribe. It takes 1 second, and it will be worth it. Lesson 5. The View from Above. There is a woman named Clara. Clara has a mother who criticizes everything. The way Clara dresses, the job she chose, the person she married, the city she lives in. Every phone call ends the same way. Clara hangs up and sits in silence for a few minutes, feeling like something is wrong with her. Like she is not enough. Like she will never be enough, no matter what she does or how hard she tries. One evening, Clara did something different. Instead of replaying the conversation in her head, instead of building arguments she would never say out loud, She tried something a Stoic teacher once described. She imagined herself rising up, high above her apartment, above her city, above the country, looking down at the earth from far away. From up there, she could see two small figures, a mother, a daughter. Both of them hurt. Both of them wanting something the other one did not know how to give. From that distance, the cruelty looked smaller, and underneath it she could see something else. Pain. Her mother's pain. Old pain. Pain that had nothing to do with Clara at all. This practice has a name in Stoic philosophy. They called it the view from above. Marcus Aurelius used it often. When he felt overwhelmed by the people around him, the lies, the politics, the constant noise of the court, he would step back in his mind. He would picture the world from a great height, all of human history spread out like a map. And from that view, most conflicts looked exactly like what they were. Small, temporary, human. Let me make this simple. Toxic behavior almost never comes from strength. It comes from wounds. The person who puts you down in public is afraid of being seen as less than. The person who controls everything around them is terrified of what happens when they cannot. The person who cannot say a kind word has probably never received enough kind words themselves. This is not an excuse for how they treat you. Their pain does not give them the right to hurt you. But understanding it changes something inside you. It moves you from the center of the story to the edge. It makes their behavior about them, not about you. He looked. He saw clearly. He chose not to carry it. She listened. She felt the sting. She let it pass through her. You pause. You look from above. You decide what is yours to keep. Clara did not stop feeling hurt by her mother's words, but she stopped believing the words were true. She stopped making them mean something about her worth. She started to see her mother as a person who was also struggling, also afraid, also doing the best she could with what she had, even when that best was not very good. That small shift changed everything. She still took the calls. She still felt the sting sometimes, but she got off the phone faster. She set small limits without big drama. She stopped arguing. She stopped trying to convince her mother to see her differently. Because you cannot force a blind person to read. You can only choose how long you sit in the dark with them. The Stoics did not ask you to love your enemies. They did not ask you to pretend cruelty is kindness. They asked you to see clearly, to look at difficult people without the filter of your own wounded feelings, to understand what you are actually dealing with before you decide what to do about it. From a distance, their anger looks small, and it is. The view from above does not remove the hurt, but it removes the power the hurt has over you. And that is more than enough to keep moving. Lesson 6. Accept what you cannot change, then move. Here's what most people miss. Acceptance is not weakness. Acceptance is not giving up. Acceptance is not saying that what happened to you was okay, or that how they treated you was fine, or that you deserved it. Acceptance is simply this, looking clearly at reality and choosing not to fight what cannot be changed. In Stoic philosophy, this idea has a Latin name, amor fati. It means love of fate. Not tolerance of fate, not quiet suffering of fate, love of it. The idea that everything that has happened, including the painful parts, including the people who hurt you, is part of the path that made you who you are. Now, the Stoics were not soft people. They were not sitting in comfortable rooms writing poetry. Seneca was the personal advisor to Nero, one of the most dangerous and unpredictable leaders in Roman history. Nero was manipulative. He was cruel. He changed his mind without warning. He turned on people he once trusted. And Seneca, a man who had devoted his life to Stoic philosophy, had to sit across from this man almost every day. Seneca wrote about this experience in his letters. He described the cost of spending time near someone whose inner world was in chaos. He described how the wrong company drains something from you slowly, like a small hole in a boat. You do not notice until the water is already at your feet. But he also wrote about the choice he made. He could not control Nero. He could not make Nero a better person. He could not protect himself completely from the damage of that relationship. What he could do was choose his response, choose his values, choose how much of himself he gave to the darkness around him. If you are waiting for a toxic person to change, you are waiting for something that may never come. If you are holding your happiness until they apologize, you are holding it hostage. If you are building your peace on the condition that they become different, you are building on sand. The Stoics say, accept that this person is who they are. Accept that you cannot rewire another human being. Accept that the change you are waiting for may not come in your lifetime. And then, from that acceptance, decide what you will do. Not what you will do to them. What you will do with yourself. Here is what that looks like in real life. You stop sending the hint messages and waiting to see if they understand. You stop replaying conversations hoping you said it right this time. You stop checking their reaction to know whether today is a good day or a bad day. You stop building your mood around their mood. You anchor yourself somewhere they cannot reach. Approval seekers are controlled by everyone. The anchored person is controlled by no one. That anchor is your values, what you believe, how you want to live, the kind of person you are working to become. When your peace comes from inside, from who you are rather than from how others treat you, then toxic people lose the one weapon they have always used against you. They can no longer reach the thing that matters most. Seneca eventually had to leave Nero, not with anger, not with drama. He withdrew quietly into his writing and his philosophy. He chose himself. He chose the life that was left to him. He accepted the reality of what Nero was, and from that acceptance, he found a kind of freedom. You cannot change them. You can change how you carry them. That is the anchor that matters most. That is amor fati applied to difficult relationships. It does not mean you stay. It does not mean you go. It means you stop letting their unchanging nature be the reason your life cannot move forward. Lesson 7. How to set limits without losing your calm. There is a young person. Call them Alex. Alex had a friend named Marcus, not the emperor. Just a regular person who happened to take more than he gave. Every time Alex had good news, Marcus found a way to make it smaller. Every time Alex was struggling, Marcus made the conversation about himself. Every time Alex tried to pull back a little, Marcus would appear with a crisis, a problem, a reason why Alex needed to stay close and keep giving. Alex stayed for a long time, because leaving felt mean, because setting a limit felt selfish, because Alex had been taught somewhere along the way that being a good person meant being available to everyone all the time, no matter the cost. Listen carefully. That is not what the Stoics taught, and it is not what being a good person actually means. The Stoics believed in voluntary discomfort, the idea that you should practice tolerating hard things so that when hard things come, you are ready. But they also believed in something equally important. They believed that every human being has a finite amount of energy, a real limited resource. And how you spend that energy is one of the most important decisions you will ever make. Spending all of it on people who drain you is not generosity. It is a slow loss of yourself. Setting a limit is not an act of cruelty. It is an act of honesty. It says, this is what I can give. This is where I stop. Not because I do not care about you, but because I care about myself enough to protect what is mine. The Stoics did not use dramatic language about this. They did not talk about cutting people off with anger or writing long explanations. They simply redirected their energy, quietly, firmly, without drama. Here is what that looks like. Setting a limit is not unkind. Saying no to someone is not rejection. Protecting your energy is not punishment. Honesty about your limits means knowing how much you can carry before something important breaks. That knowledge is not selfish. That knowledge is what keeps you whole. And choosing every day where your energy goes, that is the most important choice you make. Alex tried this. Slowly at first. Instead of always being available when Marcus called at midnight, Alex started letting the phone ring. Instead of rearranging the whole week to help Marcus with something that could wait, Alex started saying, I can help on Thursday, but not today. Small limits. Clear. Calm. Without anger. Marcus pushed back, as toxic people often do when limits appear for the first time. He called Alex selfish. He said Alex had changed. He said real friends do not say no. Alex felt the guilt rise. That familiar pull to apologize, to give in, to make the discomfort stop. But Alex held the line. And something interesting happened. The guilt passed. It always does when you do not feed it. Marcus eventually accepted the new shape of the friendship. And if he had not, that too would have been information. Important information about what the friendship actually was. Tolerance is a muscle, but every muscle has a limit. The Stoics understood that living with limits is not a failure of love. It is an expression of it. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot protect others if you are not protecting yourself first. The most generous thing you can do for the people in your life, including the difficult ones, is to remain whole, to stay full, to keep your energy for the things and people that truly deserve it. Alex did not lose a friend by setting limits. Alex found something better. The quiet confidence of someone who knows their own worth. Someone who gives freely but not endlessly. Someone who is kind without being used. This is the Stoic way of setting limits. Not with walls, not with cold silence, but with clear, calm, honest truth about where you end and where others begin. Lesson 8. When you have to walk away. Hear me on this. Everything we have talked about today, the dichotomy of control, the inner citadel, the Stoic pause, the view from above, acceptance limits, all of it has been building to this moment. Because there is a truth that the Stoics never hid from. A truth that is uncomfortable. A truth that most advice about difficult people carefully avoids. Sometimes the Stoic answer is to leave. Not in anger. Not with a speech. Not with a long explanation that you hope will finally make them understand. Just a quiet, clear, decided departure. A choice to spend what remains of your life differently. Marcus Aurelius knew this. He spent years surrounded by people who lied to him, plotted against him, and wanted what he had. He gave them patience. He gave them second chances. He tried to understand them. He applied every tool he wrote about in Meditations. But he also wrote this: when you wake up each morning, remind yourself that you will meet ungrateful people, cruel people, dishonest people. And he did not write that to make himself miserable. He wrote it to remind himself that his time was limited, that every day spent in the wrong direction is a day that does not come back. The Stoics practiced memento mori, remember that you will die, not as a dark thought, as a clarifying one. When you truly understand that your time here is finite, that each day is a real and irreplaceable thing, the question of who you spend that time with becomes urgent, serious, non-negotiable. Your life is not a waiting room. You do not have to sit in it with people who make you smaller just because you have always been there, just because leaving feels hard, just because somewhere along the way you convinced yourself that staying was the kind thing to do. People who choose themselves walk away without apology. People who understand their worth stop explaining themselves to people who will never listen. People who have lived through enough loss know that time is the only thing you can never get back. Some relationships can be repaired. Some people, when they see a limit held firmly, will grow, will change, will meet you differently. That is real. That happens. And when it does, it is one of the most beautiful things in human life. But some people will not change. Some people are so deep inside their own pain, their own patterns, their own need to control or criticize or take, that no amount of your patience will reach them. And staying in those cases is not loyalty. Staying is not kindness. It is a slow agreement to disappear. People who absorb the chaos of toxic relationships lose themselves piece by piece. People who observe from a safe distance keep themselves whole. Hear me on this again. Walking away is not failure. Walking away is not coldness. Walking away is not giving up on the people you love. The Stoics were not cold people. Marcus Aurelius cried. Epictetus suffered. Seneca grieved. They felt everything. They just refused to let feeling everything mean losing everything. Walking away when it is necessary is the most Stoic act of all. It says, I have given what I can. I have tried what I know. I have chosen patience over and over. And now I choose myself. Not out of anger, not out of revenge. Out of a deep, clear understanding that my time on this earth is mine to use well. You stood still. You tried. You gave it time. You looked clearly. You saw what was real. You made your choice. You walked away. You kept yourself. You did not look back. Your time is limited. Spend it with people who lift you, not drain you. Your peace is yours to protect. That is the final lesson, and it is the hardest one. Not because it requires the most discipline, but because it requires the most honesty. Honesty about what a relationship truly is. Honesty about what it costs you. Honesty about what you deserve. The Stoics did not build walls. They built themselves. And when they were strong enough, tall enough, clear enough, they simply walked in the direction of their own life. And they did not stop. We have covered a lot of ground today. 8 lessons. 8 tools that the Stoics built over 2,000 years ago and left for us to use. Not in museums, not in universities. Right here in the middle of your life, in the middle of your relationships, in the middle of the moments that test you most. Let us bring it all together. The first thing the Stoics taught us is that you cannot control other people. You never could. What you can control is what happens inside you. Your thoughts, your responses, your values. That is the dichotomy of control. And it is the foundation that everything else rests on. The second thing is that your mind is a fortress, the inner citadel. Epictetus lost everything a person can lose. He kept his mind. That is all he needed. That is all you need, too. The third thing is that preparation is power. When you expect difficulty, difficulty cannot surprise you. Walk into hard situations with your eyes open. The storm you see coming is the storm you survive. The fourth thing is the space. That tiny, powerful space between what someone does and what you do next. Viktor Frankl found that space in the worst conditions imaginable. You can find it in a difficult conversation. You can find it anywhere, because it lives inside you. The fifth thing is the view from above. Toxic people are almost never about you. They are about their own pain, their own fear, their own unfinished business. Seeing that clearly does not excuse them, but it frees you from carrying something that was never yours. The sixth thing is acceptance. You cannot change people who do not want to change. Amor fati. Love what is. Work with reality as it is, not as you wish it were. From acceptance comes action, real action, not the desperate kind. The seventh thing is limits, not walls, not cruelty. Just honest, clear lines about where you end and where others begin. Tolerance is a muscle. Every muscle has a limit. Knowing yours is not weakness. It is wisdom. And the eighth thing, the hardest and most important thing, is that sometimes you walk away. Not in anger, in clarity. Because your time is real and limited and worth protecting. Because some people will take everything you give and still ask for more. And the Stoic answer, the ancient answer, the answer that has survived 2,000 years because it is true, is this. Choose yourself. They did not build walls around themselves. They built themselves up. And so can you. Whatever difficult person is in your life right now, whatever relationship is costing you more than it is giving you, whatever situation has been draining your energy for months or years, you have tools now. Real tools. Tested by real people in real pain across real centuries. These tools work. They worked for a slave who had his leg broken. They worked for an emperor surrounded by enemies. They worked for a man in a concentration camp. They will work for you. Your peace is yours to protect. Thank you for spending this time here today. If this lesson helped you think differently, if something shifted while you were listening, share it with someone who needs it. Leave a comment below. Tell me about the most difficult person in your life right now and how you plan to handle them differently after today. I read every single comment. If you want to improve your English while you grow your mind, keep listening. One lesson at a time. Take care of yourself. See you in the next lesson.